could have a diversified portfolio, for instance, that has an IT sector ETF, an FMCG ETF, a bank ETF, whatever you desire. The point is that you have to have those underlying ETFs available in the marketplace in which you operate. But why stop at FMCG? Why not create an ETF that comprises of all the stocks in the Nifty or the Sensex and weighted in the same proportion in which those stocks appear in the Nifty or in the Sensex? These so-called index ETFs are also quite popular in India. Take a look at Table 1. It shows you about 85 ETFs that are currently available for investors in the Indian markets. The bulk of those are index related, as I mentioned, the Nifty, the Sensex or its junior siblings. There are some sector ETFs, banking, public sector, entities, IT, infrastructure, but no real one for FMC as yet. That was just a hypothetical example, but I am sure you can imagine that some entity in India will soon start to create ETFs of that sort for our consumption as well. In the global setting, there are over 7,000 different ETFs available. There are ETFs that represent sectors within a country, indexes within a country, even whole countries themselves. There are sectors not just for stocks. There are sectors for currencies, for commodities, for bonds. There is, for example, an oil ETF which mimics the price of crude oil around the world, but this is an ETF constructed of futures alone. There are also ETFs that take opposite positions, so-called inverse ETFs. For instance, and these don't exist in India as yet, but just to tell you what might be coming. For instance, an inverse ETF on the S&P 500 will be like taking a short position on that index. Not just inverse, there are also leveraged ETFs. ETFs, for instance, an example that comes to mind is something called the Direction 3X Bear ETF. What this is saying, Direction is the company, by the way, that created this monster product. What this is saying is, as a 3X inverse ETF, if the underlying index of that ETF drops 1%, the ETF goes up 3 times. It increases by 3%. These are trading monsters. Much as I love ETFs, much as I tell you that there are 7,000 ETFs around the world, these leveraged ETFs are things that I hope really don't show up in India, even as much as I hope that the others do. In India, the total amount of money that is currently invested in the ETF space is about $21 billion worth. Compare that with the global investment in ETFs of nearly 7 trillion. The Indian ETF space is small, but I would like to argue that it is growing and indeed will grow faster if only the mutual fund companies were willing to permit it and be more generous towards the acceptance of the ETFs in the first place. I hope this has given you a flavor for how ETFs work. In other portions of our content, you will find more descriptions, more details on the ETFs, both domestic and foreign, and I hope you will come back to our platform to learn more about these and other products in this learning module. Thank you.